What's up, everybody? Rabid Hedgehog here, and welcome to Chatting with Hedgehog on the back of a vintage motorcycle. Okay, well, no, that's not going to be a normal everyday segment thing. Pardon her break. She's been sitting still for a little bit, so she's a little cranky right now. So she'll make some noises here and there as she shakes the dust off again. Might as well for you, little buddy. All right. So at any rate, I know it's been a while, and once again, thanks to 2020 for being 2020 and doing 2020 things, and regular jobs being crazy, motorcycles being sold out everywhere, all the fun stuff that's been happening this year and all that. So before I get into the main discussion, this episode is brought to you by Law Tigers of Oklahoma, as well as AGV Sport USA. AGV Sport USA is the one providing the gear for Rabid Hedgehog and his team. You will see my favorite flannel 130 jacket, and my Mercury gloves, and my Metro jeans from AGV Sport USA. So, at any rate, I'll leave all that information in the description below if you have any sort of wondering what they sell. And they do have some great products for riders, by riders, and Law Tigers keeps you protected and does the law side for you in the event that something goes wrong. So at any rate, let me talk to you guys a little bit about those Yamaha videos. And if you don't know what Yamaha videos I'm talking about, well, we're going to talk about the Venture and the Bolt. Both of them were fairly negative, and I know I have got a bunch of feedback on that about how everybody usually likes my reviews because I'm positive and happy and all that, but these were not positive and happy and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to stand by those reviews, and let's be honest, actually, I have been negative before, and if anybody has seen my FXDR video, you know I went a little bit cranky on it as well, and that's the thing. I've been cranky and upset and give negative reviews before. It's just that for some reason people really truly defend these motorcycles more than they really actually should, in my opinion. But that is my opinion, and that is what it is. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just an average everyday guy that works in banking and sometimes trains people to ride motorcycles on the side. So I'm not anything special, just a regular guy that rides motorcycles and really enjoys it. But the thing is, when it comes down to the motorcycles that I ride, usually I do post mostly motorcycles I enjoy. And when it came to the Bolt, it was a motorcycle that I was consistently asked about to do, and I kept trying to tell people, I really don't want to do this motorcycle. It is not a motorcycle that I'm particularly fond of, and I don't think it is particularly the best motorcycle that's out there. I think it's just a motorcycle. And I think the reason why so many people defend it is because it's the cost ratio of the motorcycle to what you get. And I mean, it's a decent bike when you think about it for its price, but there's so many better bikes in its price range that aren't necessarily cruisers, that are better built, and even by Yamaha themselves, they're better built, they look better, they act better, they perform better. There's so many better motorcycles in that same price range that it's really no excuse for Yamaha to build the Bolt the way they did, except to flatter Harley guys. And I'm sorry to say, I don't like that. When Yamaha first came around with their cruisers back in the day, you had the XS series, like the XX650. You had motorcycles that had parallel twins and, you know, just a different look about them. Of course, the Virago, when it came out, the Virago was a really cool motorcycle as well. You know, it had that kind of different look to it, its own unique flair. It didn't try to be Harley, you know. And then, of course, they went to the V-Star. Most of these bikes, you know, except for the XS, most of these bikes were shaft drive, bigger V-twins than most of the Harleys of their time. You know, they were just built their own special way. And that's what I appreciated about those motorcycles. there was a review I did on the V-Star 1100 when my friend bought one for his first motorcycle, and I actually put in there, this is the first Yamaha cruiser that I like from the modern era. And that's because that was during the time I rode the Bolt for the first few times, and I just was never impressed with that motorcycle and never really understood it, because it really truly feels like it was made by committee, and the committee was old Harley riders, and that's what they built, was something to cater to the Harley riders that had a better cost coefficient for lack of quality to what you received. That would make up for it. And that's a little disappointing in my opinion. If you were to pay that same amount of money for a Sportster, that is a whale of a cost coefficient of a great bike in that price range. But to me, the Sportster right now is the same thing. It really does not garner the price that it has on it. It should be much less for the kind of motorcycle you receive. And that's the whole argument here. Yes, the Bolt is a decent price. Yes, it has a great engine. Like I said, I didn't mind the engine. I didn't mind the braking. Everything else around it sucked. But that's the deal. It's a better cost coefficient. You're getting more motorcycle in that price range. You're getting a bigger engine than the 883. You're getting, a little bit better suspension, depending on the type of bike you get. If you get the R-Type versus the base, you're getting some niceties in there for that price that you simply can't get with a Sportster. So a lot of people are going to defend that motorcycle, and that's why that particular video doesn't have very many likes. But the thing is, I stand behind it because for my size, I'm 6 foot tall, I weigh around 200 pounds, I have a 32-inch inseam. The way I sit on that bike is all sorts of wrong compared to how I sit on even a Sportster or a Scout or this 500cc Honda from 1979. I sit on this bike way better because it does have a taller seat height and it has a further fall to the foot peg. So it just allows me to sit up here just fine. Even though the V is in the wrong position, it still sits nice and it's balanced. It's a balanced design. And the Bolt strictly isn't. Like I said, this bike to me has better build quality and it's much older than the Bolt ever will have. And yes, I know the tachometer doesn't work, but that's because somebody put something in there that caused it to strip all its gears away because they thought they were lubricating or cleaning it or whatever they did, and they murdered it. So that's not even on the bike's fault. It's the second or first owner, whoever did that. Poor thing just sat around for a little bit and they thought they were bringing it back to life when in reality they were hurting it. But I mean, when it comes to the Bolt, like I said, you get more bang for your buck in the long run, and that's why there's a bunch of defenders. And it's the same thing with the Venture. Is the Venture overall a terrible motorcycle? And I said, no, it really isn't. But I mean, when you look at all the other bikes that are around its cost, you look at the Goldwing, the K1600, even the Harley Davidsons and the Indians and all those baggers and all those not adventure bikes, but touring bikes and dressers that are in that price range, that bike is simply outclassed in every way. Because once again, it was designed by committee, and this is an admitted committee because if you watch the story of how the Eluder and Venture came into being that they got now, it really was them asking Americans, what do you want to ride? And they said, big air-cooled V-twin. It literally was, let's make a Harley Davidson. Stop making Harley Davidsons. There's a reason why you're down to the Venture, Eluder, and Bolt as your only cruisers is because all you've done is made Harley Davidsons. If you're gonna get a Harley, you're gonna get a Harley. And everybody you polled clearly just wants a Harley. So don't make them a Harley. Make a good touring motorcycle that is different, and you do with the FJR. You have a straight four that's plenty powerful, that runs super good, that is your own unique blend. Why not, if you want to make something a little bit more relaxed with a engine like that, do what BMW did. They literally made a K1600 bagger versus the K1600 that's more of the sport touring style, where the K1600 you can actually kick your feet out just like an American cruiser, but they kept the big 6-cylinder. They made it their own, and that's why I was going after Yamaha that way, is because they didn't make it their own. Yamaha has plenty of other machines. They have the MT-03, the R3, the R6, the R1. You can go through the MT-07, the MT-09, the MT-10. You could go through all those naked bikes, all those sport bikes, everything that they make besides the cruisers, and you get a wonderful product that is really well placed in its division in cost, in quality, in fun. But you just don't get that with their cruisers. Their cruisers are literally not built to be their own bike. They're built to be Harley. And nobody can be Harley but Harley. Well, what about Indian? Indian is doing their own thing as well. They didn't make an air-cooled bike when it came to the smaller displacement Scout engine. They made a liquid-cooled machine. They also, instead of making a dual cool or anything like that, they gave us the air cooled at first, but now they're working in the 108 that's fully liquid cooled, and showed us what the advantage is of the liquid cooled motorcycle long before Harley has made a liquid cooled motorcycle. They are going after their own thing. Well, the Challenger looks like the Road Glide. No, it doesn't. It's its own deal. It's kind of a crossbreed between, like I said, the Goldwing and some others. But it is its own unique blend of motorcycle. It also has an inverted fork, which the Road Glide does not have. The Road Glide has your traditional big FL front end Harley type. You know, it's just its own unique blend of motorcycle, and it rides really well. And I like that about it because it kind of adds its own flair to the bagger lineup. And that's the whole point. It's like the other bikes too, the Chieftain and the Vintage and all the other stuff. They add their own flair to it. They're not just copies of Harley Davidsons. Don't mind me, guys. I'm just going to pay my water bill real quick. Yeah, I'm old school. I like to come up here and drop it off in person because, you know, I'm sad like that, right? I still write checks because, you know, I'm a millennial with a baby boomer heart, I guess. I don't know. Boop. But anyway, and that's kind of why I rode the Honda today. The CX500. Because when Honda was like, hey, let's make a V10 cruiser, they didn't look at Harley Davidson to make their first V10 cruiser. For their first V-twin cruiser, they did a transverse mounted V-twin a la Moto Guzzi. And at that time, Moto Guzzi had only been making the transverse twin for roughly 10 years, maybe 12 years. Actually 11 years technically, because 67 was the first one that came out with a transverse twin. And Honda comes in here with a transverse twin in 78. So 11 years, and you have yourself Honda doing that same thing. But it's its own unique blend, and it's its own Honda-ness of that. Whereas the V7 was more of a sporting type bike or a standard type bike, this is more of a cruiser type bike with the buckhorn bars and all that. And I know they made the deluxe version, the standard version, and all that good stuff. And those come out with the, you know, more sporting type bars and everything like that. But once again, this is its own unique blend. The XS back in the day when Yamaha did its cruisers was its own unique blend. So many different unique blends. The KZ, kind of its own unique thing. They put a lot of power into it. It was kind of the beginning of the muscle bikes. That's how I look at it. Why are we trying to flatter the riders of another company that's dying? And that's the thing. Harley Davidson is not a company that you truly really want to emulate anymore. It's a company that you want to leave far behind because it's been toxic to the motorcycle industry. In fact, when they say the motorcycle industry is down in the United States of America, it's because Harley-Davidson is so far down right now that it is bringing down the entire industry in this nation. Motorcycle riding as a whole hasn't died off, nor do I see it dying off for a long time to come. There are many of my people in my age group and younger who are getting into motorcycles. I'm seeing minors getting onto motorcycles, but I just don't see them going after Harley-Davidson. Or if they're getting Harley-Davidson, because the way Harley-Davidson has flooded the market with their machines, they only hurt themselves because there's so many used machines out there that everybody is able to pick up a Harley-Davidson for quite a bit less than a brand new machine. Unless, of course, they go to a Harley-Davidson dealer where they're selling their used machines for as much as the dadgum new machines, which isn't a right thing to do. Or it's $100 or $200 off, but nobody wants to pay that for a used machine even if it has 200 miles on it. I feel sorry for the person that traded it in that fast because they bought it for 25 grand and only got 13 back in trade. Used to work for those dealerships. I know what they do. But that's the thing. Harley-Davidson shot themselves in the foot, but I don't like Yamaha coming in and trying to emulate Harley-Davidson, especially while Harley-Davidson is down. There is no point to it. And to me, I look at the Bolt and I see so many leftover bolts year after year, month after month. You know, I see brand new 16s still on showroom floors. That's 4 years ago, guys. That bike isn't selling as well as you'd hope. And that's a point to it. They just sit. And I look at the way they look. I look at the Venture, the same thing. I see 2018s running around. They even skipped a year because they had so many extras running around. So what good are they when the public is pretty much saying the same thing I'm saying by not purchasing them? Because if they want a Harley-Davidson, they're going to get a Harley-Davidson. So what I'm trying to tell you guys, and what I was trying to say in those videos, even though they were fairly negative, is I would love to see Yamaha step out in the cruiser division with their own unique flair. I mean, you look at what, you know, currently Honda and the Vulcan with Kawasaki, what they're doing with them. You know, I know that they have the aged out Vulcan Classic 900s. I know they got, you know, the other ones out there, but they got the Vulcan S, which is a completely new, unique blend by taking the Ninja 650 engine and stuffing it in a frame. That's a cruiser. That's got the ergo fit. It's their own unique blend. It's the only motorcycle you can go and have them actually fit it to you off the showroom floor without costing you extra like Harley-Davidson, Indian, and everybody else in the world. It's Honda doing the same thing with the Rebel. The Rebel's its own unique blend because instead of going for a forward-mounted cruiser that has an ergo fit system like that, they went for a bare bones brawler that is a mid-mount, mid-control kind of motorcycle. Also with a 6-speed transmission. You know, they kind of modernized it here and there. And of course, the first attempt, everybody who saw my first video on the Rebel, that only watched the first 3 minutes of it and told me horrible things and called me horrible things and said my wife sucks and all this other stuff, whatever you guys want to be negative about, go right ahead. But the whole thing is, you didn't watch the whole video. I got the negative out of the way first, and I talked about how good the Rebel actually truly was. And that was, of course, a pre-2020 model. But Honda does something that Yamaha and Harley and some other manufacturers simply don't do. And that's called listen to the consumer. Honda actually updated the Rebel with better suspension, better seating, and everything per the request of the public in only 3 years since the redesign. They left the other Rebel alone for 30-something years, released the new one, and instead of just letting it linger for 30 years, they actually did something about it. Kawasaki and the Vulcan S, believe it or not, there has been some changes. When it first came out, there was no gear counter. There were several different things that weren't on that machine that are on there now stock. It's because they listened to the public. The Bolt came out. There's been a lot of things about the dial cluster and everything that's on it for all these years, and the suspension is terrible, and all this to say they haven't done a darn thing about it. They don't care. They don't care about their cruisers. They let the rest of them die. They let the 1300 series die like the Deluxe. They let the Raider die, the Warrior die, the Stratoliner. All of them are dead. Yamaha just simply didn't touch their cruisers enough and let them die. Suzuki's doing the same thing. When's the last time the M109 had a really good change? When's the last time the C90, the C50, all the other ones have had good changes? Think about the Savage or the 650 S40. When's the last time they had a decent change? You really got to look back at some of these that they just let them die. And I know that the S40 is actually dead in the USA now. They don't sell that one anymore. It's gone. Kaput, sadly, and I actually kind of like the S40. More than kind of like it, I actually really like the S40. I thought it was actually a pretty decent motorcycle. Very narrow, lightweight, actually pretty decent steering. Actually pretty comfortable to ride. You can actually ride 2-up with it, and actually it doesn't do bad 2-up either. There's a lot of good things to say about it, even though it was old and out of date, but it was old and out of date. It was carbureted. People don't want to deal with carburetors anymore. They want to deal with fuel injection, so they hop on and ride. They don't have to worry about as much maintenance on it. You know, stuff like that. I mean, here I am riding clearly a carbureted bike that just quit on me for some deranged reason, but actually I know what that deranged reason is. I'm having some problems with this old CDI box on this machine, so every once in a while it gets a timing misfire and it just quits. But they don't make the box anymore, so have fun finding a solution, because I can change it to transistorized ignition, but I'd have to do a lot of change on the engine side of it, because the way they do the box on this one is it goes into the stator regulator area and all that, and it's fired off of that area, where the transistorized is different. So the CDI is a little interesting to replace, because you got to change your stator regulator and all that fun stuff out just to make it work correctly in the long run. But, you know, it's 41 years old, so I kind of understand that there's going to be some weird, funny things that happen with it every once in a while, especially in the heat. It doesn't really like the heat, and it doesn't really like the extreme cold, but when you get it in a perfect weather condition where it's in the 60s and maybe up into the 70s, but you got to kind of time it between the 50s and the 70s. This particular machine runs perfectly. It doesn't have any issues whatsoever. But you get it up here in the 90s and other temperatures, and it will tend to quit on me every once in a while. But you know, like I said, it's 41 years old. It's been running this long without much of an issue. But the CDI box is known to have problems, and they transistorized in the 80s, which really helped the reliability of these motorcycles out. They had their first couple of years of issues and figured them out, and then stopped making them for deranged reasons that only Honda knows. And to be honest, Honda, bring back the CX. What a good little machine. It would be kind of unique to have that in this day and age. A liquid-cooled inverted V with its own flare. Make it a bigger engine. Don't make the Rebel 1100 with the Africa Twin engine. Make a CX 1100. That would be hilarious. Liquid-cooled inverted V-twin, all the torque in the world. A lot of character. I'd just be fun to have, man. Like I said, this is just a chat. This is just me riding around enjoying life here. But back to the topic at hand, I really would like to see good motorcycles from all manufacturers, and I want to see them be able to innovate and do things their own way, in their own unique way. And everybody else has pulled it off. But Yamaha continues to make Harley clones, and that's why they simply don't have a great cruiser. And I'm not saying that I won't buy the Yamaha because the Harley's superior. I don't want a Harley Davidson. If I was to get, a Harley Davidson, that's why I bought it for, is because I wanted a Harley Davidson. I don't want to go buy a Yamaha because I wanted a Harley Davidson. I want to buy a Yamaha because I want a Yamaha. And I want its unique flair. And that's why I would go after the many unique flares that Yamaha has. Guys, I even had a chance to ride 4 Yamahas that are not videoed because they had the audacity to tell us that we can no longer have GoPros mounted to our helmets during their demo events, because they simply do not want anybody to be on YouTube that doesn't want to be on YouTube. They simply are like, well, they need a waiver or you need their permission, and they were talking about that, and I actually turned to the line and said, hey guys, do you mind being on YouTube? And everybody that was there said, no, that's totally fine, do what you got to do. And I said, there, see, we're good. And they still said no. And I'm like, well, what was the point of saying that people don't want to be on YouTube? And I got their permission, and now it's still a no. I don't get that. But they won't allow us to ride with the cameras anymore, and so that means no more Yamaha for me, because our dealers don't allow test rides. And every time I ask them for a test ride, that they say they're going to do it, they never get back with me. They just sit there and ghost me. Like, seriously, I will sit there and say, hey, I work with this channel. This is what we do. We do help other dealers. We have some great dealer partners, and they really enjoy us doing these ride reviews because it brings attention to them, and they're able to sell these motorcycles and pick up business and stuff like that. So it's been working out really well, and it's free. You don't have to pay me anything. I'm just here to have a good time, and if you guys will let me ride, then that's pretty awesome. And they say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, you know, and I'll get in communication with them, and then I'll actually go out there just to get ghosted, like, we didn't say that, and I will show them their own messages. Oh, well, that guy doesn't work here anymore. Wait, aren't you that guy? You know, kind of thing. I've actually had that happen before, where the guy that said that the guy doesn't work there anymore had you're both Brian. That's kind of weird, you know, so he just didn't want to admit to actually saying it. And I find that annoying myself, but Yamaha, work on your dealers so we can actually test ride. Good gracious. But anyway, I got to ride 4 Yamahas that were, and one of them wasn't completely unique. It was the Eluder, which I said I like the Eluder better, and someone's like, oh, the same bike, so you should like the Venture. They're not the same bike. The Venture weighs like 40, 50 pounds more, or 60 pounds more than the Eluder. Of course it's going to have different weight distribution, different steering, different everything. It's going to be different, and I might not like the way it turned out. The Eluder I like more because it's lighter, it turns better, but it's still got a lot of the same gripes, how the navigation worked and all that stuff. So there's still some of the same gripes, but because it handles a little bit better and more fits the riding style I like to do, because it's able to handle how I input them on the bars better than the Venture, I like that bike better. But I got to ride the Nikon GT, guys. That 900cc using the MT-09 engine, 3-wheeler, tilt motorcycle thing, whatever you want to call it, trike, I don't know what to call the thing. I got to ride that, and I really, really loved it. I thought it was a fantastic riding motorcycle. It worked great. It looks good to me. It's unique. It's its own bike. There's nothing like it. And I think it's weird that you have a motorcycle that's literally 3 wheels that if you don't put the side stand down, it's still going to fall over on itself, because it's designed to tilt and ride like a motorcycle, just giving you that extra traction from that 3rd wheel, making it a lot more fun. And I really, really enjoyed the ride of that machine, and I still praise the Nikon GT, and I would own a Nikon GT. I really would. I would actually worry about buying 3 tires. I actually would worry about the extra brakes. I would worry about it all, because I think the bike is worth it, because it's awesome. I also got to ride the Tracer 900, which was a fantastic motorcycle. Once again, it was kind of Yamaha's own unique blend of a more roadworthy ADV bike, kind of like the Multistrada and stuff like that. Of course, once again, using the MT-09's wonderful engine. And then I got to ride the MT-10 for the first time, and I really, really liked it, with the only downfall being that its quick shifter only works in one direction. But it is its own unique motorcycle. It has its own unique flair, and it rides super well. And the pricing on these motorcycles are really, really good too. It's just really sad that I never got to video those, and it just seems like I got to hate on Yamaha on this last couple of times, and really, in all reality, I don't hate Yamaha. Heck, I got accused of hating Honda for wearing a Yamaha hat and a Harley shirt during the Honda 500 review, and everybody, well, you're clearly biased. Did you watch the rest of the video? Did you watch the subsequent videos after that video? Stop making judgments and assumptions, and let's see here. Actually watch the videos and look for more videos, because you're going to find out I ended up really liking that machine, and I put many, many thousands of miles on that machine. So, and I miss that machine. I actually wouldn't mind having a Rebel 500, but with everything that was going on, I felt that downsizing was needed. So we converted down from having the 4-bike garage to a 3-bike garage, with one of them being a vintage and the other two being a big touring bike and my wife's. So I didn't need the extra bike, because this is the extra bike now, basically. Yeah, I had it before, but I never really got to ride it because it wasn't fully out reliable yet. Motorcycle Works brought this bad boy back up and operational to where we are right now. And like I said, it's not their fault that the CDI box wants to give me a fit right now. That's just something well known for these machines from back in the day. You know, so, you know, just kind of shrug that off. But you can see it rides really well when it's moving. As long as it's moving, it doesn't have a misfire. And if it misfires, it usually catches itself pretty decently and doesn't really have a problem at all. But let's just say that when it comes to the reviews, I'm just going to remain honest. I'm just going to not apologize for being that mean to those bikes, because clearly there needs to be something done. There's enough pressure out there that Honda changes their bike and Kawasaki changes their bike, that Yamaha doesn't change their bike. It just tells me that they don't care about the segment. They just have something there. And they could make it so much better if they tried. They could make a much better chassis. They can make a much better engine. They can make a much faster motorcycle, a much more comfortable motorcycle, if they really, truly, honestly chose to do it. They just simply choose to ignore it because it doesn't make their money. It's not their bread and butter. And I'm calling them out on it. That's simply all I wanted to do. So, there you go. There's the reasoning behind those Yamaha videos with a whole lot of extra in the middle. Because I just kind of like to ramble on. I don't know why I keep trying to give this thing a 6th gear. It's too old for that. But, you know, when it comes down to it, guys, all I want is a motorcycle that rides like the company intended for it to do, and not be an emulation of somebody else, to the point that it's too much like riding that something else, that I simply don't want it, and I will call them out on it. For the Venture, it's literally being a Harley Davidson with so much extra stuff thrown at it, like a reverse gear and the heated grips and all that stuff. Yeah, I get there's a lot of extra cost, or a lot of extra stuff in there for bang for the buck, if you want to say that. But it doesn't ride good. It rides like a Harley. And I don't want to ride like a Harley. I want to, if I'm going to get on a Goldwing or a Honda touring bike, I want it to ride like a Honda touring bike. If I want to get on a BMW touring bike, I want it to ride like a BMW touring bike. An Indian rides like an Indian, a Harley rides like a Harley. They all need to have their own unique spin on it, and I don't want an emulated version of it. So dear Yamaha, rethink your bolt. Do what the frame looks like. Put the MT-07 engine in it. Put the MT-09 engine in it. Redo the MT-07's engine to a 700 triple. Have fun with it. Make it unique. Make it fun. And with the Voyager, guys, it's okay to go back in time. You used to do this without a V-twin. You used to make it liquid cooled. Why not go back to it? Why not make it unique? Make it fun. Make it a touring bike that can handle with the BMW, with the reliability of the Honda. Be the middle ground. Do something unique. That's all I'm asking. Things like that were done in the 70s. I know it seems like the Japanese copied each other with 4-cylinder upon 4-cylinder upon 4-cylinder, but they all had kind of their unique flair and how they did it. But they all did it differently because they had to. They had to stand out. They had to fight each other over speed. They had to fight each other over something. So they just got to the point where they had to stand out some other way. And that's what brought us to where we are today. So don't go back and try to emulate it again. Keep pressing forward. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed this rant. I know that was kind of a fun, unique thing. I don't really go out and vlog very often, and it's great to get out and take Val out on a ride whenever I can. I mean, it's a very comfortable day today. Once again, I want to thank AGV Sport USA for this amazing gear. Once again, this is the 130 flannel. This is the James color, which is this blue thing. Mercury gloves, Metro jeans. Of course, Law Tigers of Oklahoma as well. We want to thank them. And we also want to thank Doug Crawford with AMSOIL. That's what's in these cylinders right now, keeping this thing going after 41 years of life, making sure that it's protected, making sure that it's riding well. Everything looking good. So we want to thank all of our partners once again for allowing me to do this. And I want to apologize again, guys. It's hard to do a video release schedule this year due to the everything and my regular job literally taking off. I mean, who would have expected more business during a pandemic? I wouldn't have, and here we are. And of course, being able to start retraining and stuff like that at my other keeps me pretty busy between the weekends and the weekdays, and all the motorcycle dealerships. Of course, I thank my partners with them, with Motorcycle Works, Moto Guzzi, House of Kawasaki, Oklahoma Honda Suzuki, Indian of Oklahoma City, the guys that actually let me ride and enjoy the motorcycles. I really appreciate you guys, but I know that you guys are having a hard time too. It's not that the bikes aren't selling, it's that they're selling really well and they're just not able to make them because of the slowdown at the factories and stuff. So it's hard to get on new machines. It's hard to really want to press them to do that. I have a lot of respect for my dealer partners, so I don't want to go out there and put mileage on bikes that they need to sell. I want to go out there and you know, when it's a good time for them and all that, whenever they can get back to normal-ish, then so when we can get back to riding more regularly once again. But that's the whole thing, guys. I know I've gotten also some things about my riding style, that I'm slow, that I don't keep up with cars. Those aren't my bikes. I have respect for my dealer partners. I have respect for the machine that's brand new, and I don't need any disrespect from you guys telling me how to ride, because I'm going to do it safe. And I'm going to do it within reason. When I'm on somebody else's bike, if I'm on my bike and I'm going to be stupid, that's on me. But if I'm on somebody else's bike, I have respect for their property because it's not mine. So don't disrespect me when I'm respecting other people's property. I'm just going to put that out there right now. So, once again, hope you enjoyed the rant. Hope you enjoyed the talk. Join the discussion down in the comments below. Check out my partners in the description below. Once again, everybody, this is the Rabid Hedgehog. We'll catch you on the next ride.
What's up, everybody? This is the Rabid Hedgehog. We once again want to thank you for watching our videos. Please like, share, subscribe today, and if you like what you see, mash that notification button so that way you get our latest videos and notifications live and on the spot. We also want to thank our dealership partners, Indian of Oklahoma City, House of Kawasaki, and Motorcycle Works Moto Guzzi, who is also our motorcycle mechanic. We want to thank them for allowing us to ride their rides. We are not paid in by any way by any manufacturer or dealer. We just get to be mad men and women with opinions. We also want to reach out to our sponsors and thank them. We have Law Tigers Motorcycle Lawyers. These motorcycle lawyers are mostly nationwide and can be reached 24/7 at lawtigers.com or 1-888 868-0208. We also want to thank our newest sponsor for gear and the things that you see us wearing, AGV Sport USA. They are out of agvsportusa.com in Flower Mound, Texas. We also want to thank Doug Crawford and AMS Oil for protecting our machines with the latest in lubrication technologies. He can be found at usasynthetics.com or 405-388-6170. And also for Derek Enloe and Associates Insurance Company, he can be found at 405-261-1010. Once again, everybody, keep that shiny side up, and we'll catch you on the next ride.